Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you on a Wednesday this time. I'm sorry we missed you on Monday, but hey, here we are. That's the most important thing is that we're with you today. And as always, I'm joined by Andrew Combo Sal to discuss the latest and the greatest in the NBA. So, Combo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. So I texted Coach Nick a simple question. I'm sorry to put our text out there, Coach Nick. And it was a yes or no question. And I couldn't get a yes or no answer from Coach Nick. All I asked him was, did Grayson travel? And things get so complicated with Coach Nick sometimes. He said, did you see my tweet? I said, no, I didn't see your tweet. And then he acted like it was the end of the world.
How did you not? That tweet went around the world and back again 3 different times. I have a lot of people upset with
God forbid I miss your tweet, Coach Nick. God forbid.
You're not doing it right, I guess, if you don't see it. So fix that algorithm, man. Well, we could talk about it for a few minutes. We don't have to belabor it because I know people are maybe interested in all whatever, but it's an interesting conversation we could have about like what the rules are.
Can I do a quick spoiler before you get into it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a travel.
Yeah. He moved his pivot foot. Okay.
Right. And your point, you don't want people to lose context of why it was a travel.
Well, I said it was a travel. I said he absolutely moved it capital Y, capital E, capital S. And everyone starts yelling at me angrily like I said it wasn't a travel. So I'm a little bit worried about society in general in terms of reading comprehension. It's a little bit concerning. That part came after the read more that you had to click on. Is that part of it, Combo?
That could be it, man. You got to.
People didn't even want to
go on ChatGPT and said, say this with more brevity. That's all you got to do.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Everyone doesn't like the AI slop anymore, and I don't, whatever. But here's the thing. Let's just look at
wait. Before you go, what do you mean AI slop? Tell me more about that. What's that?
AI in general, people seem to not like it very much. Oh, I shared the wrong one. No, I didn't. Okay. So AI, people don't like AI. They call it slop, and that's what it is. Now, and I don't blame them sometimes because it's sometimes written terribly and it's clear and the double M dash and all that stuff. But the point being that I said it was a travel, but people are yelling at me and really angry. So this is sort of like what's going on with the NBA itself when people come in there and really angry about a rule that they don't understand. And it's like, if you're going to be angry about a call, let's make sure we know what the rule is, right? Before you get angry. That's my goal here, because I certainly recognize that the anger is palpable. People are out there in the streets. They're not happy with like what they're seeing. But here's my problem with that. I don't know if there's an easier way to say this. It's not really inflammatory, but most people's understanding of the basketball rules are done were learned at 7th grade PE class, right? Like, that's what they're basing it on, or they're going to base it on, well, I wouldn't get away with that in a pickup game. And that makes me really scratch my head, because what makes people think a pickup game and an organized game with refs have any connection to each other, right?
Uh-oh. I'm listening.
Okay. I mean, I think you probably even said the pickup games too, and people want to say that. And I kind of get it, but like, that's not the same. But let's look at the Grayson Allen travel here live. Okay. Now, this is an edited version, so we could see what's going on here, but let's see if we can get – I thought I put the whole thing in the beginning. I guess not. Okay, so we're looking at, like, when does he pick the ball up, and then now he's going to now plant – oh, my goodness. This is just the gather part of it. Okay, my fault. Let me go the other one. This is what happens when you're in a hurry. Here's the other one. Okay, so here's a full one. We can see – I believe I have a whole one in the beginning. Wait. That's not it. Here it is. Okay.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what he's doing. He's combining 2 different concepts, right? The gather step, which everyone seems to be really upset about anyway, or whatever, and a one-footed step through. It's like the holy grail of, the things that we're always trying to talk about on Twitter about what the rules are, because people don't understand that a one-footed step through is legal. But let's get to the whole thing here. Let's watch it one more time. So look, step back there and then step through.
Hey.
Now, this is beautiful. I would never want the one-footed step through to go away. I love this. This is a huge, move that everyone should learn at all levels. It's legal, but okay. So what? It got messy. Would you say it got messy in there?
Because a little bit of the slide of the foot, you're saying.
Oh, before that, it gets messy. Because here's the question: is when does he gather the ball? When do both hands get on the ball, and when does he have control over it? And what foot is down? Now, we can say the right foot is down. So here's what's interesting is, we can kind of see at this point where like that's control, right? His fingers are not quite on it, and then boom, there is that. That's like you can verifiably control it. And look, the left foot is already down. So if you want to find a freeze frame here where the foot is still off the ground, like there, where he's got control, okay, but a human eye is not going to detect that in real time. If you can do 1/60th of a second, with certainty and understand that, then you should be working for NASA or work for a particle accelerator company, something like that. But if you're a ref, a human, you're not going to see that really. And then if it's close like this, you're going to give the benefit of the doubt to the player. So left foot is down, the dribble ends. He's got the 2 steps after that. Now, the next step after the gather step, this is in the rules, it's going to be the pivot foot. So that means that, you got to say the left foot was down when he ends the dribble here. And then let's see, let me skip through there. And then, okay, there. So that means the right foot is the pivot foot. Okay.
Hey. Yeah.
Now,
he really looks like he's about to shoot that too. That's a good fake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's looking at the rim. Remember, eye gaze is really important for the shot fakes, right? Yeah. So he can take as many steps as he would like with the left foot, right? The right foot is the pivot. He could step all over the place. He could spin around, left foot, all he likes. People want to count this as some weird, extension, but it's because he's combining it all. This is all, this is why it's so advanced level that no mere mortal could do this. And maybe that's the frustration. I can't do that, so F him, he can't do that. I think that's sort of the frustration. Would you agree with that?
No, I feel like that people think that it's too easy to score in the NBA and that refs give the players too much leeway and they're doing illegal things out there. Okay. And then at the same time, it's not as physical as it used to be. I think that's the frustration from a lot of people that I talk to, even though I don't have the same frustrations.
Okay, I hear you. All right, and all that it makes sense. But I meant, if you're going to be outraged, I want you to be outraged for the right reasons. That's the whole.
Was those reasons the good reasons? The ones I just told you, or no?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, if you want more defense, more physicality, and make it a little bit easier for the defender to play, I'm all for that. But what's funny about that combo is that I was that defender when I played. Yeah. I was like, really,
I think like
I was like, it was like Lou Dort.
Lou Dort. Okay. Yeah. You were a great defender then.
But I didn't do the Lou Dort stuff off the ball where he grabs and holds, whatever. I wasn't really doing that stuff. But
you were strong. You were as strong as Lou Dort?
I was not as strong as Lou Dort. I was pretty strong. Back in the day, I was pretty strong. But
So I think when there's somebody who's not breaking it down like you are and they're just watching it, it kind of looks like a joke or like, it looks like almost parody to them.
Yeah, right. But what it is these are the best players in the entire world and the most skilled, being able to, you can call it push the boundaries, but the bottom line is with the referee, the rule book is the rule book, right? And here's the other interesting thing. Let's finish this real quick because I have another concept I want to talk about, and I want to hear people in the comments as well. Now, look, so here we go. So here's the thing. I'm going to have to simply just say, like, when you can be sure he gathers the ball, the left foot's down. Now, I don't know if people were willing to give me that or not, but like, again, you're talking about 1/60th of a second where maybe before that where he gets it. It's just, you're not going to process that as a human being in real time. Now, the right foot goes down. That's the pivot foot. He can take as many steps as he'd like with the left foot. Okay. Now, at this point, all he does is step with the left foot and then lift the right foot legally. It doesn't matter if it drags, by the way. It doesn't matter. All it matters is that he lifts it off the ground and he can, it drags, it's totally fine. And then he can shoot that ball. But what people noticed was there was a movement of the right foot as he steps, like there, from there to there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a few inches. It's like a floorboard, right? Whatever. Yeah. That's tough. And also it's tough because the main focus of referees in this situation is going to be contact. They got to make sure there's no foul here. So it's tough. He's a little bit on top of the play here, this ref in the slot. So it's not easy. And he's, maybe on, there's a whole body in between him and that foot. It's not easy for him. It's too close to see. The other guys might have been able to pick that up and call it. So yes, that would be a travel by the letter of the law. But man, it's tough. It's tough to see that. It's literally 3 inches, maybe 2.8 inches, 3.4 inches. Okay. And then he steps through, and this is beautiful. Now, again, it doesn't matter if that right foot drags. It doesn't matter if both feet are off the ground for half a second when he's stepping. All it matters is he's allowed to lift the pivot, put off the ground, and then shoot it. And then as long as it shoots it or passes before it comes back down. So that's a big part of what this is. Now, the other problem is that the gather step seems to be eluding people still, right? It's a rule that doesn't exist anywhere but the NBA and FIBA. And so the issue I have is that, most people have learned the rules from a 7th grade PE teacher, right? So it's like they don't understand all those rules. and they get upset. And there was another point I wanted to make, and I'm forgetting. But anyway, what was your takeaway from this? You should have gotten caught as a travel by that sliding of the foot.
My takeaway was texting you, and then you didn't want to give me an answer.
Okay, well, there's your answer. And what? And
because you know why? I really just okay, I saw a whole bunch of people arguing on the internet. I really didn't know, to be honest. Sometimes you got to admit when you don't know something, because that's how you learn and get better. So I texted you. Yeah. Because I saw a whole bunch of people arguing, and people were getting really annoyed and abrasive, and there was arguments, and it got crazy on Instagram. I was more than Twitter. So let me see what Coach Nick would say about this. And I was looking for a yes or no answer. I didn't get it. So yeah, that's my story.
Okay. Well, I gave you the answer.
No. And then when you showed me the text, I was I read through it. And I'm like, okay, he did travel, but maybe not for the reasons why people think.
Yeah. I was wondering, I think that maybe Grayson only got hit in the face. Or does his face always look that way? I don't know.
No, I get. You know what? I think my initial reaction, it looks like a travel to me. I think that was my initial reaction because somebody asked me.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And so I get it now. But the only thing I'm seeing there would be that right foot moving a little bit before he steps through. But I think that one of the issues is that step through is a beautiful play. And we still have people who don't want to believe that it's legal, and it's legal at all levels. They think that you can't pick the pivot foot up when you can only not pick it up when you're starting a dribble. But when you're after the dribble and you're pivoting, you can lift it. It's what Kareem used to shoot a sky hook. It's what we use to shoot a regular layup. That's how that makes that legal. And I have the rule book. This is from 1920. Okay. And in there, if I can find the freeze frame, it says it there. It says you can pick.
Was there dribbling in 1920?
There was barely. It just started around for 4 or 5 years before that. So the ball would have laces in it. So the ball would bounce real clean anyway. So they didn't have a lot of dribbling, didn't like we do today, but they had the rule in there since pretty much the beginning of the dribble. So it's really important to understand.
So what do you think they would call? You think they would call that in the 1920s if Grayson Allen did that then?
No. Well, here's the thing. They shot a lot of one-footed runners back then anyway. So it was legal. The whole one-footed step-through thing was legal for all this time. And then some point around 1980, some idiot coach decided to tell everybody you had to jump off of both feet. And that's what you hear. Oh, you got to jump off of 2 feet to be able to do that. And there's never been a rule book that had said anything about that. And that's what's frustrating about it. So the spirit of the rule is the next thing. And so let's talk about that, because Goldilocks, thank you, Scoldy. Great to see you. And I'm glad that you bring this up. This is a really important concept. They say, the spirit of the travel is that players should be limited in their ability to advance the ball absent dribbling or passing. I'd like to see the NBA explore ways to rein in the gather step. Okay, so what people don't understand is that the gather step was installed in the rule book in 2009 simply because it was reflecting how the game had been called for decades before that. You go watch any high school or any college game now, you're going to see half the layups use a gather step, and no one bats an eye, the whistle doesn't blow, and the game keeps going. Now, is it also safe to say that there is a notion of entertainment with the NBA? Is that fair to say?
Very fair.
And so the notion of blowing the whistle every time is, a bit of a problem when it's talking about entertainment. Is that safe to say?
100%. Like when LeBron gets a steal back in the day, they would let him travel and get into his dunk package,
Yeah, exactly. Like no real advantage gain. Now, okay,
right.
Grayson Allen's getting a huge advantage because he's faked the guy out and now he's stepping through. Who gets to decide what the spirit of the travel rule is? I would say the only one who could do that would be the guy that wrote it down, that came up with the rule to begin with. Because what is the spirit? Like, who you get to decide it? I get to decide. Like, I don't know what that means. It's like I don't think that's too abstract for me to do, and it's a big argument you see. Because the spirit of the rule, okay, like if we really want to try and even understand what that concept is you can't stop on a dime when you're moving, right? That was the very beginning. They didn't have dribbling in the beginning, right? You had to run and you caught it, you had to stop. And they realized very quickly that I need a step or two to stop when I catch the ball, right? That's sort of so that's sort of what they're talking about. And I get it. That's sort of what we're talking about here. And then also, as the layup became a thing and they wanted to lift their foot up and jump off of 1 foot, they realized, well, crap, that's lifting the pivot foot. Well, let's let that be legal. Now, the gather step becomes an interesting issue because when we see gather steps in the 80s, we'll see it as the front foot. No, I'm sorry, as the back foot. Wait, let me get this right. Gosh, I had this in my mind. And so what looks weird now is when the gather step to the, is the front foot. because then you take the 2 steps after that. Okay, so if the foot in front of me is my gather, and then I go 1, 2, then whoa, that doesn't look right. But if I gather the ball and my foot is behind me, and then my other foot's almost touching, now it kind of looks like a 1, just a 1, 2 instead of 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. I think his thing is like the reason that these rules were put in place so it doesn't look like football. That's basically what Goldilocks is saying. Like, we want to be able to move without the ball, obviously, but not be able to run with the ball. So you either have to pass it or dribble it to move the ball.
Fair enough. Now, but does the rule book care if your gather step is in front of you or behind you?
No.
But that's what everyone's caring about. Where, depending on where the gather step is in relation to your body, is what makes it look like that football thing you're talking about. And that's
I think when you're going backward then forward, it almost looks like, you know, you're changing angles more than just going straight. Okay. If that makes sense.
That's the thing is. The other spirit of the rule people will probably argue is you're supposed to be going to the basket. Right? That's what we was all talking about. We're going to the basket. I can't stop, whatever. I need an extra step, or I need a step to shoot a layup or to the basket. Well, guess what? The rule book does not give one crap about what direction you're going, what part of the floor you're in. Now, if you want to somehow change the rules to say you only get a gather step when you're within a certain area of the basket, like, wow.
Here's the thing. If Grayson Allen did that in the 90s, he would get called for that travel, whether it's right or wrong, 10 out of 10 times.
Are you talking about the one-footed step through?
Yes, that move Grayson Allen just did. I don't know if it's right, if it's wrong. We all agree it's a travel. We all agree that it's a travel, right?
But wait. We can agree it's a travel when he slides the pivot foot.
That's fine. What I'm saying is, let's say he doesn't even slide the pivot foot. In the 90s, they would call it every single time. That's my opinion.
Right. We have instances where they were calling, people were stepping through on 1 foot and shooting it, and nobody blew the whistle. Correctly.
So you think that most refs in the 90s would not call that?
In the NBA, I think that they understood it. I think they got it. Players weren't doing it because they thought it was a travel, and you'd probably see it in the high school lower levels. You still do. Now, that said, if you lived in like Seattle, they wouldn't call it because
it was like
certain areas of the country that understood 1-footed step throughs were legal.
I see what you're saying, but Pistol Pete once said that wasn't a travel. You just never seen it before. So I think that could be applied to this, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. We were taught the 1-footed step through from the 30s on. I had Adolph Rupp in 1950. Want me to show you that one?
Well, I'm just saying, I think if you implant that play into the 90s, because that means that'd be the only play like that in the whole season. I don't think, and a lot of this is muscle memory, right? I think he would be called for it in the 90s. Right,
hang on, but let me at least show you this, because I want to call this up here. Let me bring this up into a new tab here, because let's go back to the gather step for 1 second in the history of the gather step, because again, we're talking about how this is a newfangled thing, right? And it's not.
Well, also, there's no right and wrong to this. So no matter what you say, I'm not going to believe that a 90s ref wouldn't call that.
Well, why not?
Because neither of us could prove that.
What if I showed you clips where they didn't call it?
Okay. I want to see the Grayson Allen play where they don't call it, and then I'll believe you.
Okay. I mean, let me just see if is this one.
I would love to see that in the 90s, that exact play.
All right. Let's go back and turn off the volume here. Okay. So you can see this, right?
Yeah.
This is 1933, I believe, 32, 33. And it is, let me zoom over here. Okay, this is going to be, I break it down, but you're going to see, the old play here. They throw it out here, he dribbles twice, and then he's going to go 1, 2, and shoot it. That was
the inside hand layup. Look at that.
I know. And it's a gather step. Look, left foot's down, and he goes what? Right, left. That's a gather step.
Right.
Now, the only reason why it doesn't look, people didn't say anything was because one of the reasons is that it's behind him. The gather step's behind him.
Okay, so where's the Grayson Allen play in the 90s? That's what I'm looking for.
So there. So just understand that. Would you like to see another one from a little bit later in the 30s where the gather step's allowed? The gather step's taught. No? You don't care? I can show you if you want. But the point being is, let me get that part. So you understand that the gather step is not new, right? It's just that it's in a different spot in relation to their body, again, which doesn't matter to the rule book. They don't care where your foot is when you have a gather step. The gather step is simply the foot that's down when the ball's on the thing. You see that kind of gather step and a layup in half of the layups in high school and college. Again, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's legal. Is that are we all clear that in the comments too? Does that resonate with anybody? Because I got another one I want to show you. This is fun. We're having a good time. I know we have a hard out in 20, but let's at least get this down. Where's the other one? Let me get this one. This one's even more interesting. So let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do that. And paste. Okay, here's the other one. Did I end the share? I did. All right, let me do it again. I think it's, oh boy, this one maybe. Okay, so watch this one. Is it this one? Oh, that's the wrong. Okay, so same thing. This is from 1946. Okay, a little bit later. Oh, is this not where? Did I share the wrong one? Anyway,
that's pretty good. That's pretty clear video for 1946. What?
Yeah. Well, I'm not.
They're restored.
Okay, so here, look. Dribble, ball's controlled. Dribbles ended. The left foot is down, and he goes right, left. This is what we call a gather step. Right, boom, boom. Okay, so again, this is not new. Now, I want you to see the other one I wanted to show you, which was let's end that one. What was I going to show you? Oh, the step through. Let me just show you this because it's not new. Where are my bookmarks? One footage step through. I have all these clips in my bookmarks. So here's the next one. Where's the 8 offer up one from 1950? Here's one of them, but let me show you the one it's only. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let me do this, and you're gonna love this. Okay. And step through Joe on you gotta follow him. Oh, it's doing it. I won't let me do. Sometimes when I go full screen, it goes nutty. Anyway, okay. So look, I think I broke this down too as I edited.
This guy's making me want to go get some shots up right now.
Okay, look, he's going to come down on a jump. Okay, good. 1-footed step through. He comes down.
Wait, what was that? Wait, what was that little thing before? That's a travel. What he just did.
He dribbled though.
No, he didn't.
You missed it. Dribble. Jump stop ends.
Wait, that doesn't look like a travel to you? Let me see the first thing.
I just want to make sure you see it's in full screen for you.
Yeah. Go all the way back. Go all the way back.
Okay, all the way back.
All right.
This is Adolph Rupp, 1950.
Okay.
So, well, I think he's ending the dribble right here on the jump stop. We can't see the very beginning, and then he takes one step. So you see that? So he dribbles the ball. Yeah, there's the ball. It's between his legs, and then he gathers the ball on the jump stop, both feet at the same time. He lifts the left foot is a pivot, the right foot is non-pivot. He lifts the pivot foot and shoots it. Right, and in fact, he kind of hops down to the other foot. Totally.
Yeah. What if he's in the air for that? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. As long all you're worried about is lifting the pivot foot off the ground. If both feet are off the ground, doesn't matter. Now, in the lower levels, high school, if you end up jumping and then landing and then jumping again, that's the only language they have in high school where you can't jump. But that clearly is not a jump. He's stepping on the other foot. So we taught that move. We taught the 1-footed step through from 1940 or whatever until 1980. Like it was a total thing. And then somebody decided to change, thought the rule was wrong. Now, somebody might have called the travel, okay, and then thought, oh, well, that must be a travel. I have to tell everybody else, and everyone, believed it. And then we've been undoing the damage for decades since then. It's crazy how much effect that had. Now, somebody might argue, if the ref's going to call a travel, then it's a travel. And I don't know what to do with that. All I can tell you is what the rule book says and what a bad call is. Now, we saw them call travels on Dominique doing a Euro. That Euro he does is legal at any level at any time of the game, but it didn't look normal, and so they just call it travel. So here's my big thesis. Are you ready, Combo?
Mm-hmm.
My thesis is that back in the day when we'd see them call carry on a simple crossover, or we'd see them call travel on a Euro step, that was not the real game that they were officiating. What they are officiating today is infinitely more accurate to what the rule book actually says. So in reality, what we're getting now is more of the pure basketball. And with players who are this good and this skilled and this dexterous, this is what we get. This is what's exciting about it. And what we had before then, which is what people seem to be pining for, is some weird bastardized version of basketball that didn't actually reflect what the actual rules said. That's pretty crazy to me. Do you follow?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right, I want to hear from everybody else in the thing. So somebody thinks I'm wrong, but they didn't say why, unless the comments are not showing up. Oh, here we go. But anyway, let's see here. Allen was a shot as a combination with a step back. Doesn't that make it different from the 40s clip? So yes, but what about the rule book says you can't combine different moves together, right? So if you want to say, well, the gather step means you have to shoot it off of that, well, that doesn't say anything. That's not what the rules say. And if we want to start governing when you can shoot it, which goes to the SGA stuff, which is another video coming up, but stay tuned for my I got a great one coming up on Kuminga. But the thing about trying to legislate what when you can shoot the ball is that's basketball fascism. You can't create rules that say, well, you can't shoot the ball in this part of the floor if you're not intending to do it here. You got to be able to shoot the ball whenever you want to shoot it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So none of those solutions to me resonates at all. With this, if you want to remove the gather step, then we're gonna, you can get back to, the old school way where you couldn't. I just feel like if you remove the gather step, everything's going to be a travel. People don't even realize when the gather step's happening. So that's the issue. So and then what you want is, okay, it doesn't look right. We got to call it. That's BS, right? You can't call something that doesn't look right. That's a recipe for disaster. And we've seen it happen where it was awkward, it was a little strange, it wasn't the travel, and they called it. That's not okay in my book. Is it okay in your book?
Yes.
It is? It's okay if it looks weird for them to make a bad call?
It's not okay. I just think that's what would happen like maybe 10 years ago.
I mean, it happens today. It still happens. And, listen.
That was my point. Why were you arguing with me?
I thought you were trying to say that you said your answer maybe.
Do you like to argue, Coach Nick? I said that if he did that in the 90s, they would call the travel.
That wasn't my question. My question.
That's exactly what I said.
Oh, okay, because it looked weird to them is why you're saying it.
I said that if he did that in the 1990s, they would call it 10 out of 10 times.
But they wouldn't, and we have evidence that they didn't. But however,
I did not. I still didn't see the evidence. I didn't see that move done in the 90s. That Grayson Allen move that he did.
Go to step through Joe. He's got clips in the 90s of people doing one-footed step throughs. Oh,
wait, no. But because first of all, he I don't know if you want to show me the clip again, but he did a step back beforehand, right? First of all,
Grayson Allen?
Yeah, he did a step back beforehand.
Well, he just ended his dribble on the pivot.
What I'm telling you is that he did a step back beforehand, right? Before the step through.
Well, when you say step back, that means he shot it, but he didn't shoot it.
No, a step back is the move. The shot is you don't have to shoot after a step back.
Okay, he did a step back. He did the footwork that would be the precursor to a step back three. Okay,
there's a step back and then there's a step back jumper. The step back is the move. The jumper is the shot. My thing is, though, first of all, James Harden brought in the step back. Not that nobody was doing it. We have evidence of people doing it, but now it's way more prevalent. So to show me that somebody would do the step back, step through in the 90s, I think that's a tough video to find.
You would see that in the post all the time.
I'm not saying in the post. I'm saying if Grayson Allen did that in the 90s, they're calling it 10 out of 10 times.
Again, the rule book doesn't care what part of the floor we do this on, so you can easily see.
I'm not saying the refs were right. I'm not saying the refs would be right. I'm saying what would happen.
So you want to see one from the 3-point line? Weren't specific about that.
I want to see the move that Grayson Allen did from the 3-point line. Yes,
right, from the 3-point line area.
So they were stepping back in the post into a step through.
Absolutely. Like basically, what a up and under is a step back shot fake into a one-footed.
Well, a lot of times they were posting up and catching it from an entry pass, then off the live dribble like Grayson Allen, right?
Yeah, but then you would dribble and then you would do certainly I taught it this way in the 80s. I taught it that way, where you dribble, jump stop as you're shot faking, and then
that's okay. My point is to all this is I think that's why people are upset, because they're thinking from when they grew up watching basketball, if somebody would have done that, they called it travel. So now they believe the NBA is a joke for letting them do things like that, no matter what the rule book says. Right. They might not be as informed about the rule book as you, but that's not the point. They're seeing things that you could not do in the 90s and able to do it now.
No,
and they think
I don't think we saw a guy do a one-footed step through from the 3-point line in the 90s. I can't.
That's my point.
But it doesn't mean it wasn't illegal.
That's not my point, Coach Nick. I'm saying why people are up in arms. I'm telling you why people are up in arms.
They're up in arms because they haven't seen something like this before.
Yes, so they believe it's like a clown show, like it's a joke. Like it's like
in fact, it's the same move we've seen everywhere else across the floor, just not from the 3-point line.
It's like they're dancing around with the ball. That's how they're looking at it, whether it's legal or not. It's their perception.
Which seems silly to me, right? Why would it be legal at the basket area on an up and under move?
Do you see my point now, though? Do you see my point?
Well, my biggest concern about all of this is that they still think that the one-footed step through part of this is illegal, or you can't combine two different moves. It's like, of course you can. That's what basketball is. So, I just feel like,
Grit basketball agrees with me. You're probably right. They were calling it in the 90s, and they would be wrong. That's my point. And I think that people are looking at it not from his perspective, in the sense is like, you can't do this in the basketball I grew up watching. First of all, I never seen it. And second of all, I know they would call travel on this because in my mind, it is a travel. So it looks like he's dancing around like a maniac in their mind.
All right. So we'll put the one-footed step through away because, again, I mean, it's still a thing. Let me tell you, people still come screaming into my mentions with travel calls when that's not. Okay. And we know that from way before. And then now, more and more, DeMar DeRozan does it. It's great.
Okay. Here's a good comment. The interpretation of the rules have changed. Do you agree with that?
The interpretation of the rules have changed. Yeah. Especially because it sort of proves my point that they would call horrible calls consistently. When you see Elgin Baylor do a crossover and they go, whoa, carry, right? And what they would say back then, because I was alive kind of close to that era, believe it or not, was that, his hand was not on top of the ball when he was dribbling, right? That was the real big reason why they would say you couldn't do that crossover. That's why it was a carry. And turns out I have every rule book from every rule books from every decade. Never did it say you had to have your hand on top of the ball. And so when that crossover happens and there's no pause due to the control by his hand, that should not be a violation. But it was. I'm not going to argue that they didn't call that a lot. They did, right? And for a long time. But it was because they were interpreting it completely wrong, and maybe for nefarious reasons. And I'm going to do a documentary about this because there was a lot of instances where they changed the rules, like they got rid of the dunk, and they got rid of the dunk on pretty clearly racist lines. I wouldn't think it's a stretch to think that they were calling the dribbling part along racist lines as well. Okay. Because there was one team out there back in the 40s and the 50s that was doing all the fancy dribbling, right, Combo?
Oh yeah, in the 90s?
No, in the 40s and the 50s.
Well, I mean, Bob Cousy wasn't that far off from then, right?
Yeah, okay. Bob Cousy's right after that, but before that, we had a team called the Harlem Globetrotters.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, Curly Neal was he was sliding on the floor, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and so anyhow,
I think they do. I think they do travel in the Harlem Globetrotters, right? Sometimes.
But the reason why that thing that we saw earlier from the other channel wasn't quite fully contextualized was that the referees would be making calls that were not reflecting what the actual rule book was. Now, I just watched a game from 1920s that my son sent me over, and it took me all of about 6 seconds to see a blatant travel on the start of a dribble, and they didn't call it. Now, did they miss it? Probably. Did they let that go? Maybe, as part of the their interpretation. So the bottom line is, whatever this era is that people think where the referees called the game properly, it wasn't. They just didn't have they don't have the attention to detail and understand it like some of the other experts do, and actually see what was really going on in reality. That's the fog that people are really living in. They really think that these refs, were really strict about this, and they weren't.
I got a question for you. Okay, so I think the perception is, to shift gears a little bit, that the refs give the players too much leeway when it comes to this stuff, whether maybe they don't know the rules as well as you, Coach Dick. But do you believe that the NBA has a scoring problem when it comes to the lack of physicality, the increased scoring numbers, and then the refs being more lenient on the way they call the travel?
Yeah, and by the way, let me throw this in. The carry call now needs to be cleaned up. They did it a few years ago, and I was very excited about that, and they went away from it. So let me get that out there too. And like I see, Darian is out there saying that like the carry is a problem. There's too much of that. And by the way, when I was in 7th or 8th grade playing in 1980, whatever it was, I had a teammate that would do the hang dribble, and he did it because he would see the NBA players do it, and his hand didn't get under the ball. The ball didn't really pause. He just kind of did it, and he put his hand behind the ball and then back on top, and behind the ball, back on top, as people do now. And they would call, "Oh, no, we're not going to let you do that stuff." I swear to God, the referee said something like that after he's blowing the whistle. They used to talk a lot more back in the day to the players. And but that tells you, the NBA was doing it back then, right? They were able to find boundaries to push. And I remember the old heads in 1981 complaining about the carry, believe it or not.
So let me ask you, Coach Dick, do you believe it's too easy for players to score in the NBA? There needs to be more of a balance.
So when they started the season in 2020 or 2021, whatever it was, like playing playoff rules in the regular season, I think we were all shocked, but delightfully shocked. I think that was a good thing. So I would like to go play playoff rules for the regular season. I think we should play the playoff style, right, where they would allow that more contact, because we all know that they allow it, right? It's a different game in the playoffs, and it's a different game in the NBA Cup, right? I watched that Knicks Magic game, a big stretch of that, and they were really being physical.
Knicks Toronto.
Knicks Toronto, forgive me. I was watching another Magic game, but okay, Knicks Toronto, and that was physical, man, and they were letting them play through, and I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I think that would be fine. I think people would want that. But let's get to our Cliffside's got a super chat. Thank you so much, Cliff. Always great to see you. I'm one of those fans that think the moves Allen and Giannis did make playing defense impossible. I miss when defenses at least had a chance. I don't know. And by the way, I'm so happy we're not talking about SGA. If we're talking about like the gather step, the Allen and the Giannis gather step, you might remember it was a big one we did a video on. The rules are the rules. And if they do, if we have a hard time figuring out exactly when that gather is, there isn't much of a, way to determine that unless you want to go to replay.
Well, if things get too easy, the rules have been changed in the past, right? Yeah. Like maybe if things get too easy with the way that traveling is called now, maybe they'll change it. Maybe they'll change the rule. And then also look, because Wilt was dunking from the free throw line, right? So they had to change that rule.
You mean during free throws?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now,
so this is the same thing. Let's say some player gets so elite at kind of like gathers and step backs, and I mean SGA is trending in that direction, right?
And they've done that to some.
Do you think there's maybe a world where they would change the rule?
And that's my point too. Is that maybe it isn't necessarily that the defense has no chance. It's that the offense has gotten better and better and better and more skilled over the years. Which is
I agree with that 100%. I agree.
Okay? And so, that it would make sense then that, it's a lot harder to play defense now, but not because of the rules or not because of the refs. It's because the players are much better, right? Across the board.
The rules didn't change, but the combination of the players getting more skillful and a less physical league and also the faster pace this season and the increased free throws have made scoring almost out of control for some people. People don't believe there's enough balance, there's enough defense, there's enough physicality.
Right. And so that solution would be that certainly the physicality allowing more like they do playoff time. That would probably clear up a lot of that. And also I would think calling the carries, which doesn't happen a ton, but it's enough where I'd like to see that cleaned up. Because again, if a guy's bringing the ball down the court and he's carrying on the way down the court with no defense on him, who cares, right? There's no advantage. It's just the times when you see the guy like Nembhard doing, on Pacers. I don't know if you saw that one where he's going down the court, he's beating guys in transition, and he's got a couple juicy, really big pause carries. It's like that you shouldn't be able to do that. So I think those things will go a much longer way. But the defense. The problem with the gather step stuff is that there's simply you have to parse that in real time. And if it's literally a 60th of a second difference, you're just going to give the offensive player the benefit of the doubt on that. And they should, because they're not certain and they can't guess, especially with the travels. They cannot guess with travels. They have to be certain on those. And again, it's an entertainment notion as well, where, there is this notion you don't want to blow the whistle and make the games 3.5 hours. And so the other worry is that whatever they're screaming and yelling for is for a game. They'll break the game that way. It'll make the game even worse. And then no one will watch it again, and they did it on purpose, right? Like, we want this. I don't like this anymore. That's what's going to happen. And so that whole thing about the travel thing, I feel like there's a balance there. But again, if we go back and find out that, that was pretty much legal, you got to stop screaming and yelling and stop threatening to turn the game off. It was legal. That's all there is to it. And that's why I'm here to help.
We love that you're here to help, Coach Nick.
Something? Is that what that was? No.
What happened?
No, I thought you were telling me that you have to go in 30 seconds.
Well, I do, but let's get to this last super chat.
Oh, there's another one? Oh,
yep.
Sorry. Scully Locks is back with us. Thank you so much, Scully. I think this is what most people, including me, are upset with. The not quite a gather that lets a drive continue indefinitely. Right. Okay, so we can talk. I did the whole video on that one. That's the stutter step while you're dribbling, right? That was a wild one that people didn't really understand. That one, you could take as many steps as you like in between dribbles. And it's always when they say, well, he took, 5 steps on that. And when you say 5 or 6 steps, it just tells me that you're counting it from when the ball last bounced. And people will, with a straight face, come at me in my mentions and say, yeah, that's when you count steps after the ball bounces. And it's like, no, it never that case. And that's that whole 7th grade PE teacher issue again, where people learn the rules from someone who didn't know the rules. All right, I feel like I should stay out here and just do this one man.
Why?
I'm ready to go.
You ready to go?
Maybe I'll keep talking because you know what? I want to go over to Derik Queen stuff. Maybe should I just do that while you're gone?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
All right. Well, combo. I know you got to go. I'm sorry I was a little bit late today, but we got a good 41 minutes.
We did. Thanks for having me. Maybe next Monday if you're around.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to happen. Cliff is back too. So all right. Well, we'll see you later, combo. I'll do this on for a few minutes and then we'll go.
Right. We'll talk soon. Appreciate you.
Right. Okay. What's up? Hey, full screen. Wow. I haven't seen full screen of me in a long time. So let's just keep talking about this because I think this is interesting and I'll hear from you in the comments too. So Cliffside says, why did they settle on 24 seconds for shot clock? Great question. The guy that did it did the math. And at that time in the 50s, whatever it was, and it was pretty quick back then in the NBA level where they were going up and down. He just calculated 48 minutes. Our average number of shots is this. That's 24 seconds per shot, something like that. That's how they came up with it. And you know what? It's pretty good, for a number. I'm happy with that one. In fact, 35 is too long when they did that, and they moved it to 30, which is better for college. But they still have, like, in my mind, when you run offense, it should have a purpose. You should be trying to sort of score. And I feel like a lot of the beginning actions in the college game is still in the college half court is still like just doing stuff to do stuff. I'm going to hand off here. I'm going to throw it there. Blah, blah. Okay, now we're ready to go. I'm like, just go, get ready right off the bat and start attacking. And so that 30-second clock still lets you do that a little bit, but it's better than 35. But that's a great question. Anyway, so are we clear on this? It's like my motivation, especially, I know Twitter is a lot different than YouTube, right? Although we're on Twitter as well here, but Twitter, I'm trying to help people understand the rules better. And I have to acknowledge that Twitter is not the place to do that, right? Nobody is coming there to learn anything. They're coming there to scream and yell into the void. And I make the mistake of replying and asking some questions to try and get there. But yes, USA Libertarian, especially a Libertarian would say that. I'm here to help, LOL and capital LOL. Here, I'm going to just show this because this is funny. Exactly. And that's what I truly am here to help. I'm not rage baiting, whatever they call that. That's not what I'm doing. I try and ask questions and lead people through a little process so they understand what the rules are. And again, the hope is that the anger will dissipate and they'll be like, oh, okay, I understand that rule now. And I understand that I was taught something that was not correct, or whatever rule I had learned in the high school level is not the same. Gather step doesn't exist in high school. So that would be a travel in high school. So why you would think that applies to the NBA when the NBA rule is different is a problem. But I'm hoping that when you learn that that's the case, that you'll be like, oh, okay, maybe even a thanks, coach. That'd be nice, but I don't need it. So that's what we're getting. I think that we're, maybe I can do a poll here as far as what the deal is. I would say that if we had to do it in order, it's the gather step is the one on top. Then it's the SGA foul stuff, the foul baiting stuff, and then we get to like the one-footed step through stuff. The one-footed step through to me is exciting only because it's legal. It's always been legal at every level, and people really don't appreciate that and think that it's a travel, and that's a real thing. I'll meet referees and I kind of quiz them sometimes when I'm hanging out before the games to make sure they all know it, especially at like the lower levels, that it's not a travel. And for the most part, they're pretty good and they get it, and that's good. And I think that's partly the work that we've been doing here to get the word out, because I can tell you when I was growing up, and I knew the rules. I probably was that guy that read the high school rule book at some point. I assumed that you had to jump off of both feet when you did a step through, for sure. And then we find out that was never the case. And we find out that if you live in, like, I know it's Seattle and then a couple other pockets of the country, in high school, people were doing one-footed step throughs up the wazoo, maybe Indiana, and nobody called it. Everyone understood it was legal, right? But somehow, again, it's a regional thing, which tells me that there were a couple coaches out there. Maybe they went to a clinic and they started saying, whoa, we can't, this is going to be a travel. I saw it called once. So that's the rule. And I guess I get that, but that's too bad. The one-footed step through is a really great move, and it gets you more space, and it's really important. Now, what gets people crazy then is, jump stop, 1 foot step through right away. Right? The cadence can be quick and it all of a sudden looks really crazy, like you're taking all sorts of steps. But you know what? It's not any more than what you thought if you saw jump stop, deliberate, look, step through, shot. No, I can go jump stop, step through real quick. And it looks, in like one motion, and people want to go crazy, but it's legal. So let's see here. We got Cliff Y wants to know, have I had a chance to scout Kean Anthony? Is that Cole? No, who's Kean? That's Carmelo's son, right? I've only seen a couple of the clips when he was young. So someone's going to have to tell me. Listen, I got so much bandwidth in my brain for the NBA. Getting to anything else is tough. But I don't know. Tell me, Cliff, what anyone's seeing. I'll definitely want to check it out and see if he's got the same old man game, which kind of doesn't exist anymore, right? Whenever I'm teaching my the chase defense, which I invented, which is where you play behind the ball, one of the worries is that you're going to go against a guy that's going to catch the ball at the elbow, face up, and do all that Carmelo stuff that I reference Carmelo, jab step, shot fake, jab step, and everyone pretty much shakes their head, says, no, nobody does that anymore. So I'll be interested to see how he's developed his kid. If that's who I'm talking about, right? Isn't that who Carmelo Anthony's kid is? Kian? Somebody tell me. Kobe Bryant, we caught them doing one-footed step through a couple times. He did it with both feet too, but we do have him, and we have him teaching it off of 1 foot as well. It's a group in maybe Asia, I think. So again, the knowledge was there, but we didn't have social media. A, to help educate, but then B, that people come screaming and yelling. It's kind of crazy. So I think that's the nature of Twitter, and I'm still trying to pierce through that. But I maybe I'll just stop at some point or do it less, because my mentions have been that tweet went viral about Grayson Allen, because we finally no one was showing the one angle that I finally found and showed from the. It was interestingly enough, it wasn't the Suns, it was the Timberwolves feed showed it going to commercial. And so that was the one we needed to see where the right hand was on the ball. All the other ones, you can't see the right hand. And the funny thing is, people will come yelling at me and show a screenshot from the other angle where you can't see the right hand, saying, this is the clear angle, you can see it. I'm like, no, we can't. And I want to be completely certain before we really weigh in on this stuff, as do the refs. And, listen, do the refs miss calls? Sure. They miss lots of calls, but not as many as you might think. They end up grading out 90% plus on the accuracy of their calls. And if they're not going to get assignments. They're not going to continue to be refereeing in these games. So, that is a thing that people don't understand, that there are human. There's a lot of human elements to this. We even saw like that timeout that they wanted called, and they didn't honor it. Oh gosh, who was that? It was a big one. Maybe it was Nick Nurse wanted the timeout. They didn't call it. And, that's also the human element where, they need to be able to process what's going on. The play was going up the court, and, it's loud in the gym. They couldn't quite hear it. I know that he ended up kind of coming on the court to do it. But again, if you're like, a ref, that's a little bit of a secondary issue there. It's understandable from a human element why they would have missed that one. But, by the way, if you remember that one, I don't know if I can find it or not quickly, but the Paul George was made the mistake there, because there was only a second left, or 0.8 seconds left on the clock. So when you get the rebound, you have to call timeout right away so you can advance the ball to half court and get a chance. By pushing the ball up really quickly like that, you don't get that opportunity. And that was a huge mistake. So what they should have done at that point was inbound the ball on the timeout way in the backcourt, and then you lose that advantage that you're supposed to get by advancing the ball. So, it shouldn't have had to have been Nick Nurse trying to call the ball, make a call from out of bounds. It should have been the players should have known right away that's a timeout. In fact, and in FIBA, the coach can't call timeout unless there's a dead ball. It's brutal. I was coaching something a couple of years ago, and it was like we got stuck where they went on a run. The ball never stopped. I could not call the timeout. I don't think the players can either, right? I think it's a dead ball only. Wait a minute. Now I'm forgetting. I know I couldn't call a timeout, and I was really frustrated. So, gosh. At any rate, okay. Where are we at? Anything else we want to talk about? You want to go to Derik Queen? You guys want to see the Derik Queen stuff? Because I thought it was pretty impressive for a rookie getting a 30-point triple-double. Or triple-double? Yeah, he had 10 assists and 30 points. All right, let's do it. I got the clips going. We'll go real quickly with that, and we'll see if anyone's still around. Where is the Derik Queen? Okay. The Blizzard, Derik Queen, DQ. Okay. And by the way, does he look even in better shape now than he did in college? I feel like he does, right? I'm not crazy. He's moving a lot even better than, although he moved really well, but I feel like with my memory of Maryland, he was like kind of heavier and sort of plodding, and now he's kind of really light on his feet. All right, let's watch this. So here we go. We have the first clip here on the thing. It starts out like almost like a traditional center here, right? Gets in there, backs down, does a little jump hook in the lane over Luke Cornett. Not easy. Good play. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be one of those things where he's a throwback player, right, from the 90s, of the old post-up players that just sort of get the ball around the basket and score there. Here's another example. Okay, now this was actually a little dribble, but power move, right? And this was probably a charge. Let's see where his feet were. No, yeah, he was outside the circle. He's in leading guarding position. This is the kind of stuff, though, that we want, right? Is this what we're hoping for? We get this kind of tough play, no call, let the defense. I mean, the defense wasn't called for a foul here, at least, but there probably should have been a charge. But maybe that's what people want, is that sort of really aggressive and physical play. I mean, here's the thing. Trust me, you don't want to go back to the 90s. You don't want 90s style basketball. That was hard to watch. Even back then, it was hard to watch. So I know we don't want to go back to that. Trust me on that one. But then we go into the transition. And here we go with, another one. So another one. He's just playing like a 90s center. He's kind of in there. Nice footwork. Look at that. A nice reverse little spin, left-handed off the glass. Beautiful. So this is all like very traditional. I'm like, okay. But then it takes an abrupt turn where he suddenly changes his whole thing. Look, he gets the turnover. He makes Luke Cornett literally fall down. I think they kicked feet here, and that's why he went down. And then coast to coast, like a guard, right? You have to understand, like, this is not a big man in the 90s anymore. He's grabbing that loose ball, and boom, up the court is a little maybe through a tween, left to right through the legs, and then boom, finishes it off through the contact. Beautiful. That's a very modern center look. Now, this is your typical 5 out where they do the a delay back to the center. And now check this out. Okay, they run a pick and roll for him behind the back, stutter step, and then into the lane and gets a foul call. This is like Steve Nash. This is like a point guard here doing this kind of stuff, right? Look at this. This is crazy. So good. Behind the back, I'm not sure that was a fumble dribble. I think that was a little stutter step and then gone, then into the lane. They get free throws. I mean, this is impressive stuff from a rookie. I know he's an older rookie, but still. Okay, now here, okay, he comes off of like basically a pitch out of the corner, as this is like, a small forward kind of stuff, and then into a nice little runner. I mean, this is high level stuff. I don't know if we saw as much from in college as he's doing now. This is exciting if I'm the Pelicans. This guy's a legitimate skilled player. Now another one. This is the role of a guard. You don't come out of the corner from a handoff if you're a big plotting center. You're usually a guard or maybe a 3 coming out of this. Look, out of this, it turns the corner, gets right in the lane, and now he's using that center stuff to be strong. And then look at that touch on a nice little one-footed floater. So again, this is really impressive stuff here. Now let's see what he gets here. Now low post, face up, and boom. Baseline, again, he goes back to the traditional stuff. Now, why does he go back to the traditional stuff? This is crunch time in the fourth quarter, right? We need a real bucket. Get your butt down there, and that was a beautiful finish. Look at this. So watch. He ends his dribble here, and now he's going to do a nice little step through pivot around a left foot turn, and then reverse right-handed off the glass. This touch in amongst the trees. Beautiful. Again, now we're going to show a little bit of the passing. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is not the passing. This is the fourth quarter again. So look at this move. This is beautiful, and that's clean. That's a clean where it's a jab step cross. This is guard footwork here, guard footwork and dribbling ability. He literally turns Cornett around and then gets him into the layup. And it was an off-foot layup to boot. Okay, so now we're going to see at the end of the game, this is the game where he puts him ahead, takes him right to the hole, off the glass, soft. Now, that's not easy to do. When you go strong like this and you got to take a lot of contact and then finish soft, that's not easy. And we see guys miss shots like this often. Boom, on the way down, soft off the glass, gives him the lead at the end. Beautiful. So let's talk about his passing because he had 10 assists. Now, some of them were, very ho-hum, but here, this is, again, coast to coast, leading the break like Magic Johnson, and a nice little bounce pass right for the Alvarado for the layup. Beautiful. This is great. He's scanning the floor, sees the floor well. Nice little bounce pass lead. Now, here again, they're going to get into transition. It comes up, trailing like a big man, and then they're going to run into a little pin away. Now, watch this. Split cut. Oh, beautiful. Now, this is open because they do the split cut, right? So there's a cutter. Now they're worried about either him popping out here or the cutter, and they screw it up because they want some sort of switch. I don't know why this defender stopped. But look at that pass. It's like I don't even know what they call it. Sidearm. He sidearms this bounce pass, beautiful in rhythm for the easy layup. I mean, that's gorgeous stuff right there. Now, let's see another pass that he throws. Again, this is all delay action where they just swing the ball back to the top. Again, look at that. He actually has to take a little something off of this so he can lead him and not have it go out of bounds. So he kind of throws it a little bit softly and then maybe a little spin on it to go toward the basket and lead him more. That's just absolutely beautiful and great read of that action there. So this is the Pelicans' offense is fun with Derik Queen. We got a couple more here, and let's see here. All right, so pick, and then they don't get the switch. Olynyk is on him. Let's see here. Okay, so now, look, this is tough. I'm going to take Olynyk out of his position. I'm going to get open. They're letting them play. Okay, this is fine. And now watch. Okay, good. Oh yeah, another one. He likes that sort of that sidearm pass, and it's helpful because it helps you get underneath the defender's arm and around him easily. And again, this is not good defense. I don't know what this is. He's playing zone when they're supposed to be playing man. And nice cut. And look at that. Just leads him right in there for the nice assist. This is great. This is really good awareness on the high post. Very exciting stuff. And then he's going to bring the ball up again, right? Yeah. And look at this. So we're deep in the fourth quarter, and look at this spin move where it's easy, where he might not have been able to see the floor because his back's to the basket, and he still sees the cutter and throws this nice pass here. Champagny wasn't ready, and boom, they get a dunk and another assist. This is beautiful. And then let's see, the last one here is okay. So again, now they can run through the high post, which I'm really happy with. And then look, they get a flare pass into a catch and shoot too. His foot on the line, unfortunately. But this is the next level stuff. When you're able to throw skip passes to open threes or open long twos in the corner, that's good stuff right there. So Derik Queen, man, I'll have to do maybe a breakdown of that and go into even more detail. But that would be the breakdown I would do. He's an old rookie, right? I think he played a lot of years in college. But who cares, right? He's a new player in the NBA without that much experience, and he's really killing it. So great to see. I don't know. It's funny. I didn't expect to go that long with the Grayson Allen stuff, but that was a really great conversation. So hopefully you guys got something out of that one. Anything else you want to talk about? I got to get back to the Kuminga video, which is going to be interesting. Here's a little thing for you. There's a lot of people still here. I think that Kuminga was suspended, like a silent suspension for the Bulls game. And you have to watch the video to find out why I think that. But I honestly think that was a premeditated DNP. It wasn't like, we couldn't find a spot for him in the rotation during, in real time. And what now you have to stay down to watch the video to find out why Coach Kerr felt that way. But hopefully you will. It'll be up in, hopefully an hour or so. So please come back and watch that one. It'd be great if we got it. Now, are there any more super chats? Did I get them all? I think so. Okay. Anyway, well, thanks so much for indulging me on that one. I hope it all made sense. I know that you guys out there on the YouTube side are much more reasoned. We have a much better conversation in the comments than we do on Twitter. So I'm not going to hold everybody to that to be angry with them for the kind of vitriol I'm getting. But just remember this: if you're on Twitter and you're interacting with me, I'm just trying to have a conversation, because I'll tell you in a second when we sign off. And then B, if I can help one person that day understand the rules a little bit better, then that's awesome. That's a great day. The Angel gets its wings. So thank you all for being out there. Thanks, Combo, for being part of the show as always. Thank you all for the super chats. It's always great to see Skoldy out there, Cliffside, and everybody else. So don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in?